More now on the deadlocked debt talks in Washington. This week, Republican leaders are going to push for a plan that would let President Obama raise the debt limit in stages. For more on what to expect, we're joined by Martin Baily. He was White House chief economist under President Clinton. He's now a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. Welcome to In Business. We are in some ways down to the wire because the administration says by Friday they need something written in order to meet that August the 2nd deadline so that we don't run out of cash. Are you optimistic that default at this point is completely off the table?
I don't think it's completely off the table because I don't quite see how we're going to get to a solution. But everybody hopes that sanity will prevail and we will eventually work this out. I think that I would not have been in this situation. I probably, if I'd been the president, would have not participated in negotiations in quite this way. But we are where we are. And I think probably the Republicans are going to get most of what they want because they've got the gun to the president's head. And, he said, don't shoot, don't shoot. So we're going to get probably something at the end of the day. But it's certainly not going to solve the problems.
What do you mean you wouldn't have participated in this way? You think the president participating directly is a mistake?
Well, maybe I'm just a bomb thrower on this one, but I would have probably said I want a clean bill on the debt limit, and I don't think this is the right environment to be negotiating. And I probably would have started laying out what the plans would be in the event of a default and put a little bit of pressure back on the Republicans to give him the debt limit. Because we should be negotiating this over the budget. But, that's not what happened, so that's just sort of hypothetical. I think, Jack Lew over the weekend said he's confident we're gonna finally work this out. And, we sort of have to believe that they will draw back from the precipice and come up with something that will raise the debt limit. Now, they're going to do it in such a way that they're going to try to put as much of the onus on the president as they can and make him look bad, while obviously the president wants to turn around and do the same thing back to the Republicans. So it's a fair amount of squabbling going on at the moment.
I mean, you were in the White House when Congress shut down back in 1995. I mean, different scenario, different economy at that time. But, I mean, what's the way how could the president turn this situation around in a way that perhaps doesn't have, as you say, Republicans with a gun to his head?
Well, it may be too late, I think, to do anything along the lines that Clinton did. First of all, Clinton was a very good negotiator, and then it turned out that shutting down the government, which, by the way, was not as bad as what would happen with the default. I mean, the problem with the default is that you wouldn't be able to pay Social Security and Medicare, and how would you pay defense and the interest on the debt. So this is a much worse situation, I think, than we faced back then. But it turned out that actually worked to Clinton's favor when that happened. It's hard to know what's going to happen this time. We're in uncharted territory, both politically. Are people going to blame the president? Are they going to blame the Republicans? And economically, are we going to see a huge crash in the global markets? Obviously, back then, we had a strongly growing economy. We didn't have Europe with its own debt default. So we are sort of playing with matches in a very flammable situation. We're taking a lot of risks at the moment.
Well, the Treasury Secretary has said that he believes default is off the table. Also said that there isn't really, a plan for premise in which the government does default. I mean, what should we know about what would happen August the 3rd if you believe default is still a real possibility?
Well, I think this is they don't want to sort of go there. It's like saying, you don't have cancer. We don't want to talk about what you would do if you had it. They kind of want to operate on the assumption that we're going to work this out. They must be making some kind of contingency plans in the back rooms as to what would actually happen in the event of a default and what they would pay and what they would not pay. But I think they don't really want to talk about it. Yes.
So incredibly difficult
exactly.
to do.
Prioritization. Yes. It's probably going to be it's hard for me to speculate on how they would do it, but they must be thinking about it. I don't think they want to talk about it publicly because they still believe we can get through this. And I think the chances are probably better than 50% that we will get through it. Nobody wants to bring the economy down. At least I don't think so.
The Plan B at this point, as it's termed, the McConnell-Reed plan to, go ahead with the vote that would just lift the ceiling and push off some of the bigger decisions. Do you view that as, more or less defeat for the president? Is that truly a win for the Republicans if that's the route that we have to go down?
I don't think so. I mean, they're trying to set it up in a way that they would sort of vote against it but allow the president to do it. So then they would go into the election and say, look, we didn't want to do this. We wanted to control the debts and the deficits, but the president told us he had to do this, and so we let him do it because we don't want to ruin the country, but it wasn't our fault. Now, whether that's going to work, to me, it seems a little bit like inside the Beltway tactics, actually. I don't think folks out in America are going to necessarily buy into that kind of strategic game playing. They're going to look at how the economy is doing as we go into the election and make their decision on that basis. So, yeah, it'd be a kind of victory. Whether it would be an effective victory, I'd be more doubtful.
All right, Martin Baily, it's so good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us today.